Tone. Intriguing. Calm. Have you ever wondered which war has lasted the longest in human history? It involves no bloodshed, and it requires no land or oil. The battlefield of this war is just a piece of wood divided into 64 squares. Today, I will tell you the story of chess. The story of how a simple board game conquered the minds of all humanity. Part 1. The sage Sissa and the lesson for the king. Tone. Steady. Like telling an ancient legend, it all began in India, around the 6th century. History has not preserved the exact name of the creator, but the most famous legend said that the game was invented by an Indian sage named Sissa. They say he created the game then called Chaturanga to teach a lesson to a cruel and arrogant king. The sage wanted to show the ruler one simple truth. Even the most powerful king on the board is nothing without the support of his subjects and army. Even then, the main rule that has survived to this day already existed. Protect your ruler at any cost. When the king saw the game, he was so impressed that he said to Sissa, "You have an incredible mind. Ask for whatever you wish. Gold, palaces, lands, I will give you anything." Tone. With a cunning smile, mysterious, but the sage bowed his head and replied, "Great ruler, I need no riches. Place just 1 grain of wheat on the first square of the chessboard. On the second, place 2. On the third, 4. On the fourth, 8. And simply double the number of grains until the very last, the 64th square." The king laughed loudly. He thought the sage was foolish to ask for nothing more than a small sack of grain. Tone. Slow, building tension, but when the royal mathematicians began their calculations, their laughter quickly faded. Their faces turned pale. It turned out that there was not enough grain in the royal granaries or even on the entire planet to pay the sage. The final number amounts to more than 18 quintillion grains. If all that wheat were gathered together, it would cover the surface of the earth with a layer several centimeters thick. Thus, the sage taught the king a second important lesson. Never underestimate what seems insignificant at first glance, especially on a chessboard. Part 2. The secret language of the pieces. Tone. Conspiratorial. Emphasizing interesting facts, but the most fascinating part of this game is its rules. Why do chess pieces move in such strange ways? In fact, it is a brilliant imitation of a real battle. Take the pawns, for example. They move only forward. Why? Because they represent simple infantry. Soldiers march in formation, step by step, but upon attacks only diagonally. This makes sense. In ancient times, a soldier held his shield in front and struck with a spear or sword from the side, from behind cover. And what about the knight? Why does it move in an L shape and jump over other pieces? This imitates real cavalry. Riders did not push straight through crowds, they leaped over ditches, obstacles, and even their own infantry lines to deliver sudden flanking attacks. The rook, rushing in straight lines across any distance, was originally a heavy war chariot. It would charge across the open plain and sweep everything from its path. Part 3. Shah Checkmate. Tone. Slightly more dynamic, this clever military simulation, carried by caravans of merchants, reached Persia and the Arab Caliphate. There it received a new name, Shatranj. It is to the Persians that we owe the most famous phrase in the game. When the king on the board was trapped, players would say, "Shahmat." Translated from Persian, this means, the king is helpless. In the East, the game became more than just entertainment, it was studied by mathematicians and philosophers. Part 4. The Mad Queen. Tone. Lively, with a slight smile paused. Now let us move to 15th century Europe. Chess arrived here through Spain, but Europeans found the game too slow and restrained. They wanted more adrenaline and sudden attacks. And then came the most radical reform in chess history. Next to the king stood a piece called the advisor, which could move only 1 square at a time. Suddenly, inspired by powerful ruling women of the era such as Isabella of hostile Europeans transformed the weak advisor into the all-powerful queen. She began to sweep across the entire board in every direction. The game became fast, aggressive, and unpredictable. That was when chess took the form we know today. Part 5. The birth of professional sport. Tone. Informative. Transition from history to sport. For a long time, the chess world was dominated by a period of romanticism. Players simply agreed to meet randomly in salons or cafes. However, in the 19th century, chess began to transform from entertainment into a professional sport. The starting point of the competitive system is considered to be the first international super tournament in London in 1851, organized by Howard Staunton. Tone. Emphasizing key dates and names. The official history of the world game began on January 11, 1886. On that day, a match took place between the two strongest players of the time, Wilhelm Steinitz and Johannes Zukertort. In their contract, the title world champion was officially written for the first time. The match was played across several cities in the United States and ended with Steinitz's victory. Later, in 1924, the International Chess Federation was founded in Paris, finally standardizing tournaments and creating the system we know today. Part 6. The Battle of Ideologies. Tone. Serious, tense. By the mid-20th century, everything changed again. During the Cold War, chess became a true battle of ideologies. Imagine a world championship match between the USSR and the USA. Boris Spassky versus Bobby Fischer. Millions watched their games on television, holding their breath as if it were the moon landing. Chess became a sport of immense tension, where you sweat not from running, but from the colossal work of the mind. Part 7. Man versus machine. Tone. Philosophical, inspiring. In 1997, the supercomputer Deep Blue defeated world champion Garry Kasparov for the first time. Many sighed. That's it. The machine has won. Chess is dead. Slight smile. How wrong they were. Computers did not kill chess, they made it even more popular. Today, millions of games are played online every day. School children from Brazil play with retirees from Japan. Modern neural networks show us incredible moves that a human could hardly imagine. Part 8. The Hall of Legends. Tone. Respectful, epic. Now let us open the Hall of Legends. Since the first official match in 1886, only a select few have held the highest title. These are not just players, they are the architects of modern chess. It began with the founding titans, Wilhelm Steinitz, and the long-reigning German Emanuel Lasker. Then came the Cuban genius of intuition, José Raúl Capablanca, and the fierce attacker Alexander Alekhine, briefly interrupted by the Dutch professor Max Euck. Tone. Emphasizing dominance. After World War I, the era of total Soviet dominance began. For decades, the crown remained behind the Iron Curtain, under the control of masters such as the patriarch Mikhail Botvinnik, the wizard of attack Mikhail Tal, and the defensive genius Tigran Petrosian. Only one man managed to break through that Soviet wall, alone, the American Bobby Fischer in 1972. But the Soviet school returned with titans like Anatoly Karpov and the legendary, aggressive Garry Kasparov. Tone. Faster, modern spirit. In the 21st century, chess became truly global. The title belonged to Russia's Vladimir Kramnik and India's Tiger of Madras, Viswanathan Anand. For an entire decade, the Norwegian phenomenon Magnus Carlsen dominated the world. Today, we are witnessing the birth of a new era in Asia, with champions such as China's Ding Liren and the incredibly young Indian talent Gukesh Domarayu. Each of them has brought something new to the game, forever changing our understanding of these 64 squares. Final tone. Mysterious and resolute. They say the number of possible chess games exceeds the number of atoms. In the observable universe, chess has traveled from wooden pieces on elephants in India to neural networks in our smartphones. And as long as the human mind exists, On this board of 64 squares there will always be room for a new, brilliant move.